Fiddler, composer, and Bay Area music legend Tom Rigney is my guest today on Backstage Sonoma. Hey, Tom, thanks so much for being here.
It's my pleasure. Nice to be here.
I'd like to give our listeners a brief overview of your music career, but it's so packed, I don't even know where I should start. Maybe you should start with the early chapter and then lead into the Sundogs.
Well, yes, I've been at this for a long time. My professional career I was playing bluegrass kind of in the early 1970s. And prior to the Sundogs, the Sundogs started in the kind of the mid 80s. Prior to that, I had a band called Back in the Saddle that was kind of a newgrass, Western swing, very eclectic, kind of traditional country band. After that band broke up, Queen Ida called me just out of the blue one day. Now, Ida was a friend of mine. He led, the great Bay Area Zydeco Band, Queen Ida and her Bon Temps Zydeco Band.
Yeah.
We were friends. We'd done some shows together over the years. And one day she called and said, "Hey, Rigney, it's Ida. I hear your band broke up. Yeah, too bad. You want a job?" And I was kind of shocked, I thought, well, thanks for the sympathy, Ida. What do you have in mind? And it turned out she was on the road, but she was coming through the Bay Area to play 2 shows and then going off to Europe for 6 weeks. And I just thought, why not? And so I just jumped in. I had never played Cajun music, Zydeco music. I'd never really listened much to South Louisiana dance music.
Huh.
And I just jumped in the deep end with Ida. No rehearsal, very little even talking about it. I said, "Send me the material, so I know what I'm playing."
Yeah.
A couple days later, a cassette with 3 songs on it arrived. So I toured with Ida and recorded with her for about a year. But I'm a band leader by temperament. And so after a year with Ida, it was really time for me to kind of move on. I had met a brilliant songwriter, multi-instrumentalist, Joe Paquin, when I was on the road touring with Ida. And he actually moved to the Bay Area and we immediately just hit it off. And that was the beginning of what, ultimately developed into the Sundogs. We're collaborating, really we're playing exclusively original music and put the Sundogs around, together around the 2 of us. And that band played and toured and recorded for really about 15 years.
It's a good run.
It was a great run. Yeah. Lots of travel, lots of road work. We have 3 different record deals. Well, I had a record deal with Tacoma Records. The Sundogs' first record was on Kaleidoscope, and then we jumped over to Rounder for a couple of albums. Anyway, it was a good long run, a lot of touring, a lot of fun. It was a very high energy kind of mix of Cajun blues and roots rock and roll.
How fun. So let's make the transition now from the Sundogs to the current band Flambeau. How did you get there?
I had put together a band kind of in the waning years of the Sundogs run just to play my original instrumental compositions. I was writing a lot of music for the fiddle in a wide range of styles. And a lot of the music didn't really fit the Sundogs style. So I put this side project together and started doing some gigs. About that time, things were just kind of wrapping up with the Sundogs. We really weren't touring so much anymore. It just, it kind of had run its course. And so basically the new band just kind of started working a little more. I kind of expanded the repertoire, added a bunch of kind of Cajun and New Orleans music to the repertoire and some vocal stuff. And ultimately, that's what morphed into Flambeau. It was kind of like picking up the ball kind of at the end of the Sundogs run. As I say, I had something started already, and that became Flambeau ultimately. And now Flambeau's been playing together for about 25 years.
Congratulations on that.
Well, thank you. Stamina and endurance are really the essential qualities of a professional.
I wish they bottled that. I'd be one of the best customers.
Yeah.
There are many concert videos of you out there on YouTube and other places. But I understand you're editing a new live video and CD, which was recorded in the North Bay and beyond. Can you tell us more?
I love recording. I'm always recording. I think I've released, in the last 25 years, I think I've released something like 27 full albums or DVD videos of predominantly original material. I'm always working on something. I had some personnel changes in Flambeau during the shutdown,
Hmm.
came out with a new guitarist and a new bass player. And I started realizing recently that all the video, all the really good looking video that I had was of the old band lineup. And I thought I really needed video of the new band. The sound is somewhat different. We're concentrating a lot on vocal arrangements now, and there was new material. So I just decided to record a show at the Throckmorton
Hmm.
Theater in Mill Valley
Yeah.
back in, might have been late January. Anyway, so it all went fabulously, and we got wonderful footage and really good audio. Since then, I've been mixing the audio tracks, working with a great video editor on the video stuff. And now that we've kind of pretty much finished editing and mixing
Hmm.
everything, I find myself looking at it and going, hey, wait a minute. This is really good. This came out well. The band looks good. We played well. So I've decided that I'm going to release a new live CD,
All right.
probably sometime later this year. And then the fate of the video is not certain. I think it's really good, but it's very difficult to get people to buy live DVD videos anymore. It used to be a real thing that people enjoy collecting. And as with CDs, just, actual physical media in general, there's much less of a market for it. So I'm not certain what the fate will be of the video. I'll start dropping tunes onto YouTube and on my website and that sort of thing, and decide later if I feel like it's worth putting out an actual physical DVD.
Sure, sure, sure. Maybe some streaming service will pick it up or something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's my hope. It looks good, it sounds good. I feel like it came out very well, and as I say, I'm constantly recording, I'm constantly writing, and that's a side thing. Regardless of whether everybody in the world stops buying CDs, I'll probably keep making them.
Good for you. When can we look forward to the new CD?
That's an interesting question. People in my band keep asking me that. I would think probably a release in November would be good. Won't likely be this summer. It's somewhere in the middle of the process.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm just about finished mixing the tracks, but then there's a bunch of stuff that has to be done in post-production. I'm kind of touring a bunch this summer, so the fall things kind of open up.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's something to look forward to.
Absolutely.
Okay. Hey, you sent over some music to share with our listeners, and I appreciate that. I'm going to play a song called Swamp Fever. What can you tell us about that?
Well, Swamp Fever has become kind of a big number in the repertoire. When I write music, and especially instrumental music, I don't really start with specific idea. I don't say, oh, today I'm going to write a blues in, E major. Swamp Fever is kind of a hybrid tune. It's got a driving sort of almost Zydeco groove, but the tune itself is a minor key blues changes, but with a sort of intense fiddle melody that just kind of drives the thing along and keeps coming back, as in between the solos. The guitarist, I play it a bit, guitar player takes a solo,
Yeah.
I come back to tune, my piano player takes a solo. So it's kind of a hybrid Zydeco bluesy rockin' thing, and it's a little hard to describe, but it tends to speak well for itself.
Oh, I'm sure it'll get your heart pumping. Let's give it a listen to now. This is Swamp Fever here on Backstage Sonoma. Musician Tom Rigney is my guest today on Backstage Sonoma. Before we play another one of your songs, Tom, can you talk about your ongoing collaboration with Michael Doucet, the great Cajun fiddler and leader of the band Beau Soleil, and the recent CD, Roll On.
Now that's a great story. Michael and I have known each other for probably 40 years. Really, I met him when I was touring with Queen Ida, and that was 1984. Michael, as someone I had admired forever, and I met him at a festival. And then over the years, when the Sundogs were touring, we'd end up on festivals together, and we'd both kind of check each other out and hang out backstage. And it became this running thing that we would talk about whenever we'd see each other. We'd go, hey, we ought to play together sometime. Hey, we ought to make a record together sometime. And it was kind of this running joke. And then we'd both go back to our separate paths. Back around 2015, we were booked on a concert together, like a concert hall out east of Sacramento. And it was the first time we had ever done a show, just the two of us. And he was out here with an acoustic version of Beausoleil. And he said, would it be all right if they played first, since we were coming on with a full-on electric band? Great. But the deal is that you then have to come out and play a song with me during our set. Oh, sure. Yeah. I mean, we had literally been talking about playing together for 30 years. Wow. So in the middle of this show with a sold-out crowd, I don't know, 800 people or something, I bring Michael out on stage in the middle of our set, and no rehearsal, no talking about it. I said, how about the Bal à Châtaignier, a traditional Cajun song that I knew he played, and I'd played it for years. We launched into it. The place went bananas. I mean, it was just this spontaneous, completely off the cuff. Next thing you know, Michael and I are just nose to nose playing together.
Cool.
And at the end of it, we both looked at each other and went, what the heck was that? It was one of those things where just instantaneously we fell right into just being able to hear what the other guy was doing and respond to it in the moment. And we came off stage at the end of that show, and I just said, okay, that's it. Let's stop talking about this. Let's just make a record together. And so we did. That was a CD called Cajun Fandango that came out in 2016, I think. It had a lot of success. We started doing shows together. I'd get him out the West Coast, for 2, 3, 4 shows a year. A couple of festivals wanted to book us together, with Flambeau backing us up. And it was just such a fun and exciting collaboration, just thrilling for me, that we have just kept it going. And in late 2020, we released Roll On, which is our latest collaboration. And in addition to all the members of Flambeau backing us up, Marcia Ball plays on 3 songs. John Cleary plays on 3 songs. Chad Huval, Michael's great accordion player in Beausoleil, plays on some tunes. We just brought in some friends to join us. And again, that record had a lot of success with radio.
What a lineup. Gosh.
Yeah, it was very exciting. Needless to say, I've known Marcia for years. Michael has played with John Cleary in New Orleans over the years. And anyway, it was really fun to record together. We've got him coming out later this year for a festival in Eureka in October.
Nice. Well, I'm in the mood to hear some more of your music. This next track I'm going to play is called Guinness and Gumbo. What a combination. Can you give us the backstory on this one?
My odd, whatever you call it, stylistic blends. It's really, it's kind of like an Irish sounding fiddle tune, but set to a driving kind of South Louisiana Cajun beat. I don't know. People say, well, where do you come up with this stuff? I really don't know. I just kind of let these tunes take shape as they take.
Well, keep them coming.
That's my plan.
Let's play it now. Here's Guinness and Gumbo. I'm speaking with violinist Tom Rigney on Backstage Sonoma. Tom, I know you played many festivals here in the States, but haven't you recently returned from a European tour? How did that go?
Oh, it was wonderful. We've been going to Europe at least every other year, for quite some time. This particular tour was three really nice festivals. First, the Baden Blues Festival in Switzerland, which is a long-running blues festival. Robert Cray was the headliner this year. I'd been talking to them for a few years, and they had been interested in a booking, but we're really different from anything they'd ever booked before. And I kind of love situations like that when, someone invites us to play, but isn't really certain what exactly it is that we do, because what we do is very eclectic. It's kind of a mix of Cajun and blues and root rock and roll and boogie woogie and that sort of thing. So Baden Blues was the first date. That was really fun. Then we went to this really interesting world kind of international music festival in a little town called Heiden up in the mountains in Switzerland. And that was fantastic. The promoter had asked me in advance if I would be willing to collaborate with a Swiss musician for part of our show.
Wow.
I thought, what? So he puts me in touch with this guy, Nicolas Sen, who's a very famous Swiss Brett player. Now, the Hackbrett is a hammer dulcimer. And I just thought, and this guy plays traditional Swedish folk music on the hammer dulcimer. And he and I started communicating a couple of weeks before the festival and sending tunes back and forth. And I thought, oh, well, there's a Swiss polka. I think we could learn that one. And I'd send him one of my, kind of Cajun two-steps. And he'd go, well, I think I could play that. We ended up putting together a set of 7 songs. We played everything from Swiss polkas to Cajun two-steps to blues, and closed with a version of Shake, Rattle, and Roll.
Oh, wow.
Followed by a version of Amazing Grace. It was one of the most interesting collaborations of my entire career.
Right.
I mean, this guy was incredible, and he just fit right into Flambeau. And I mean, we just had the best time. It was one of those things where you just go, someday we're going to have to do this again.
How fun. I hope somebody recorded that.
Sadly, except for a few, sort of short video clips, the promoters did not do that, and I didn't have the resources, but it was quite something. And then we flew to Belgium for the Duvel Blues Festival, which is a great event that we played twice before over the years, and they invited us back, and that was just fantastic. A kind of bigger festival, maybe 4,000 people, and we just burned down the tent, as they say. So that was a great tour, and I love playing in Europe. I love the European audiences, and it's something I'll, continue to try to do as things go along.
How exciting. Before I let you go, Tom, where's the best place I could send our listeners to find your music and schedule?
My website always has a calendar on it, www.tomrigney.com. If people send their contact information to me through the website, I also send out an email calendar maybe once a month or something like that has the upcoming shows.
Nice. Well, speaking of upcoming shows, Tom Rigney and Flambeau will perform at Fridays at the Hood in Santa Rosa on Friday, July 26th. Gates open at 6 p.m. and showtime is 7 p.m. Tickets and more info can be found on fridaysatthehood.com. And don't forget to bring a comfortable chair unless you plan to dance all night. And I'm sure everybody's going to be up on their feet at this one.
I think so. We played this concert series last summer, and it was just a blast. I had never been to the Hood Mansion. I'd heard of it, and it's very interesting. On the grounds there, big area set up for dancing. There's food and beer, and anyway, it was really a lot of fun. I'm hoping people will come out and join us again.
I'm sure they will. Hey, Tom, thanks so much for being here and for all you've contributed to the music scene.
Well, thanks very much. It's my pleasure. I'll keep doing it.
Great. We'll be back with more Backstage Sonoma.